Welcome back to the channel. With us approaching the final few days of the summer transfer window, there is a lot going on at Wrexham Football Club in terms of incomings and outgoings. Today we're going to be bringing you the latest Wrexham transfer news, everything you need to know about the players possibly coming into the club and some confirmed departures and soon to be confirmed departures. So before we get going into today's video, if you're looking for the best Wrexham content, I say it every video, it's coming your way on the channel. Make sure to get down there and click the red subscribe button. We're on the road to 30,000 subscribers. I do apologise as well if there's not been much content on the channel recently, if it seems I've not been too well, but we're back now and we're back freshly talking on some important transfer news. Let's go for 550 likes on today's video, and without further ado, let's get talking first on a confirmed departure. So as reported in the last transfer video I did make, striker Jack Marriott has now completed a permanent move to League One side Reading on a 3-year contract on an undisclosed fee. A very rare sight at Wrexham Football Club in recent times as actually selling a player and receiving a fee for that player, but Marriott makes the switch to a League One side, which again I think as time went on in the transfer window it was a move that seemed more and more likely, of course with the lack of game time he had in the start of the Championship season and with the players coming in that striking department, it was just looking less and less likely that he was going to play a role this season and more likely that he was going to move on. If you're looking at signings, Josh Windass, Ryan Hardy, Nathan Broadhead, you've got Sam Smith coming in January. They're all players that are coming into the side that are obviously going to play the role that Jack Marriott does play in this Wrexham team. So he fell down the pecking order a hell of a lot in a very short amount of time, but was it expected? I think you can kind of say it was, especially with the big budget that Wrexham have had going into this transfer window. You're looking at a striker like Marriott. He had a really good start obviously last season to the League One campaign, got that injury, came back and just didn't really seem to be the same version of himself that he started, of course, the League One season, which was a shame because I think if he'd have carried on that form and if his injury wouldn't have affected his game time at Wrexham, he could have probably gone on to score at least 12 plus goals last season because he started it really well. But again, it's a fresh chapter for him and I think a move that's really going to be beneficial. And I think as well, if you look in this season, like I've just said, with the options coming in and with the players coming in, his game time in this Wrexham team would have been very restricted. And you're looking as well, it wouldn't have even just been game time, it would have been him getting in the squad on match days. You've got players on the bench like Ryan Hardy, you've got Sam Smith, they're players that again are going to be ahead of Marriott in the pecking order, so he'd have been left out of the match day squad a hell of a lot. So I think it's a move that makes sense so much for both parties. And for Marriott personally, 31 years old, he's turning next month in September. It's an ambitious project obviously at Reading under the new owners who are trying to build up a team, you know, that can obviously compete at the top end of League One. They've had a slowish start to the season, but they've lost a couple of key players in the transfer window. They're recruiting well. Marriott's going in there to fit the profile of what manager Noel Hunt wanted really well. It was very well documented that Noel Hunt wanted a type of striker like Jack Marriott and was chasing him for a large period of the transfer window. So I think if there's a manager out there that really wants to play, he's going to be getting regular game time and I think he will do really well for them because it's a good environment. And I think as time goes on, obviously Reading will find consistency, Marriott will find consistency of course with the regular game time, and I have no doubt in my mind that he's going to go there, score goals and play a big role for them this season. You're looking at him turning 31 next month. It was at this stage in his career where Marriott's probably thinking, I've not got much time left, you know, of course he might have 3-4 years, but at this stage in your career, sort of the peak of players' careers at this age, you want to be playing week in week out, and I don't think that was going to be possible at Wrexham. So we wish Jack Marriott all the best at Reading. And talking next on another nearly confirmed departure of another striker, Ollie Palmer. Now there's been some breaking news on him today. There was a lot of interest for striker Ollie Palmer in the final few days of the transfer window. A whole host of clubs showed interest in signing him. Sheffield Wednesday, the Championship, and we saw a whole host of League Two sides, Bristol Rovers, Swindon Town, Crawley and Salford City have all reportedly shown interest in Ollie Palmer, but it looks as if League Two side Swindon is set to win the race for the 33-year-old striker and get him to put pen to paper in the next coming days. He's set for a medical at Swindon in the next 48 hours or so, so a deal is definitely progressing very quickly. And it's good to see as well that Palmer wasn't short of offers. And you're looking as well, I think he had an offer from Dorking Wanderers in the National League South, which would have been a ridiculous move, not only for Ollie Palmer, you know, dropping 5 leagues I think it is, but for Dorking Dorking Wanderers, it would have been a massive statement of intent, but I think that was a signing that was never going to happen. But there was genuine interest from Dorking Wanderers there. But Swindon Town, it's a League Two side. They're looking at that striker, like Harry Smith, who's currently out injured. They want that profiler striker that's going to do the dirty work up front, hold the ball up, just be a complete nuisance to the defenders. And I think Ian Holloway is getting his man in Ollie Palmer. Like I said, it's good to see that Ollie wasn't short of offers, because we obviously saw his cameo against Hull City in the Carabao Cup. He showed what he was about, and I'm sure a couple of other clubs, showed interest after that 2-goal spree from Ollie Palmer. But yeah, it's really good to see, of course, he's getting a good move. I think he probably could have done a good job for most League One sides, and I think regular game time is something he will have really wanted, and he's definitely going to get that at Swindon. And like Jack Marriott, you expect Ollie Palmer to be leaving on a permanent transfer. It's going to become a bit of a sad day for Wrexham fans, especially Ollie Palmer fans in general, because he's been here since the January 2022. He's played a massive role at his time at Wrexham, forming that partnership with Paul Mullin up front over the years, and he scored many vital goals. Just remember that second half of the season, in his first season at Wrexham, his goal scoring record was an absolute joke, and he's played a massive role as we've risen up and up the leagues. And I think it's only testament to him as well, because you look at him when he was first coming in, yes, not to sound harsh, but he doesn't look the most mobile of strikers, but he was such a nuisance up top for us and did the dirty work really, really well. And the amount of times that, he was put into that starting 11, especially up front with partnerships that he hadn't worked with before. There were a lot of times, Elliot Lee, Jake Bickerstaff, Paul Mullin, but he just did really, really well for us. And I think it was time that he was obviously going to move on, because like Marriott, game time would have been really, really hard for him this season. We saw him in the Carabao Cup, but I don't think that was ever going to change Phil Parkinson's mind. You're looking at him, he's obviously going to have that desire to go somewhere else and play regular football, because he's proved his worth. He has proved his worth in the Carabao Cup against Hull City. He's going to be that player that's going to be in and around the box, good in the air, also good with his feet as well. We've seen it on so many occasions, the finishes that he has produced with his feet in a Wrexham shirt. So Swindon Town, you're getting a very good striker in Ollie Palmer. If you get him playing regular football, he will score goals for you. I think as well, it was pretty obvious that a deal was being worked on behind the scenes, because we saw Palmer in the squad against Hull City in the Carabao Cup, and then we saw our Carabao Cup game on Tuesday against Preston North End. He wasn't involved at all, so I think that was sort of a sign that Palmer was set to leave Wrexham and is destined to leave Wrexham. Peter Rourke has said Swindon Town are in advanced talks. A medical is booked for Palmer. So yeah, I think I've got my notes here. It'll either be Crawley or Swindon Town. We've seen him play for Crawley before. He might have favoured a return back home and sort of back near London where he is based, but he's opted for the move to Swindon Town, so we wish him all the best of luck, and yeah, I think he'll do very, very well for them. Talking next on another possible departure, I did say it was going to be a hectic time for players possibly leaving the club, and this one I think will cause mixed opinions for a lot of fans. It's Tom O'Connor. Now O'Connor apparently is considering a move away from Wrexham in the final few days of the transfer window in order to get regular first team football, which he definitely deserves, and I don't think first team football for Tom O'Connor this season is going to come often. Like a lot of players, from the back end of the League One season to the start of the Championship season, it's been a very, very tough summer for them. Players that have played a big role previously and now, dropping down the pecking order, and I think Tom O'Connor is added to that list. His chances of playing week in, week out for Wrexham have massively decreased with the recruitment, of course, over the past couple of months. Blackpool of League One is said to be one of the sides interested in Tom O'Connor, which I think would be a really, really good move. Of course, Blackpool have recruited really well over the summer transfer window, brought in some really good players. So if they can add Tom O'Connor to the back line, I think it'd be a really good move, not only for Blackpool because they're getting a proven League One player, but Tom O'Connor's also going into that club knowing he's going to be playing consistent football, which I think would suit both parties really, really well. And I speak about an underwhelming stay for Tom O'Connor at Wrexham, and I think it has been a very interesting stay, I think you can say, because we signed him from Burton Albion. He had so much sort of potential and so much hype around him coming in as that midfielder who was, having that really good spell in League One for Burton Albion in midfield. We saw him play a couple of appearances here and there before obviously his injury did affect him and did affect his game time at Wrexham, and I don't think we saw half of the play that Tom O'Connor is in a Wrexham shirt, but from what we did see, his passing, his quality from set pieces will just be a great addition to whoever wants to show interest and whoever will buy Tom O'Connor in the final few days of the transfer window. But I think if we'd have seen him more in midfield before his injury, I think he'd have probably been in that midfield for the League Two season and possibly going into League One, but the injury affected him. He dropped into that back line, and don't get me wrong, he's played really well. He was faultless in the back line, his passing, his composure on the ball, but you're looking at players like Callum Doyle coming in who's got proven Championship experience, Lewis Brunt who's had a couple of really good appearances. Tom O'Connor's 26 years old. He's a very, very good player. He deserves to be playing week in, week out, and he's not really going to want to settle for being on the bench or not even being in the matchday squad for Wrexham in general. So you can't really blame the player for wanting to leave. We can, sit here and be like, oh, we wanted to keep him, he's a really good player, but you've got to be realistic in terms of the player-wise. He needs to be going out and playing football. I'd be happy if we could see maybe a season-long loan for Tom O'Connor, because I still think there is a good player there, and a player that gets possibly 40, 42 games a season for Blackpool, I think could come back to Wrexham and do really well for us and still play a part in the future, because he's 26 years old, like I said. He's still really, really young in terms of a playing career. He showed what he's worth to the Wrexham fans previously. It's about, going out there to that League One club, proving that he can be a starter for Wrexham in the future in the Championship. Yeah, as well, like Ollie Palmer, I don't think Tom O'Connor is a player that will be short of offers, due to his versatility, his quality on the ball, his set pieces from corners, free kicks, etc. I think everyone's looking for that type of player in Tom O'Connor at the minute in the transfer window, and I think a lot of clubs will be looking at this thinking we could do a late swoop for him, and I do think it would be a loan transfer. If it's a permanent, I will be quite disappointed, because I still think he might have a future at the club. If he does obviously go out somewhere and get that full season under his belt, he could come back to Wrexham a completely different player. So we'll have to wait and see in this front. But again, I think a move for both parties will be very, very beneficial. Talking next on some possible incomings, Andy Irving of West Ham United. Now it looks like the West Ham United midfielder will not be making this switch up to North Wales in the final few days of the summer transfer window. Now, according to a reliable West Ham United source, a fee had been agreed for Andy Irving, but personal terms have become a real issue and have hit a stumbling block in terms of wages. The wages we've offered don't meet Andy Irving's demands, and if that is to be the case, all I have to say is let's just move on to the next midfielder on the shortlist. It's not worth, wasting this time in the final couple of days and wasting hours in the day for a midfielder that is possibly not fully committed to the project. And Phil Parkinson, he said previously, he wants players that are going to be fully committed. We want players that, like I said, want to be a part of this team and want to be part of this magical journey that could possibly take Wrexham to a historical Premier League promotion. And I think as well, it's not like we're going to be offering Irving absolute peanuts as well. He's going to be offered a good wage at Wrexham. I just don't think it's worth it, especially when there are other targets out there that I think would be more sort of passionate about joining this Wrexham project. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens on this front. But for now, I don't know. I think it's one to avoid for Andy Irving. Speaking next on Jordan James, the player that most Wrexham fans want to see in a Wrexham shirt come the end of the transfer window. The race for James's signature is massively heating up in the final couple of days. Ipswich Town of the Championship are battling it out with Wrexham to sign the Welsh international, whilst Italian side Parma have also submitted a bid to Stade Rennes and Jordan James. But I think we've seen it so far. Parma have tabled that offer a couple of days ago. It looks as if James's heart is set to return to the Championship, and his heart is set on a return to the Championship, and whether that is for Ipswich Town or Wrexham is still undecided. It's going to be a busy couple of days for the agents of those clubs, for Phil Parkinson, for Kieran McKenna of Ipswich Town, the representatives of both clubs, to get that deal across the line, to provide that lucrative offer and show why they should be signing Jordan James over the other club. Now, I'm going to say I'm very confident that I do think Jordan James will be a Wrexham player in the next couple of days, purely because I think you're just looking at this. I think him being a Welsh international is going to possibly play a big role in this. And I do think, the words of Phil Parkinson, Ryan and Rob, if they're wanting those Welsh internationals to come into the club to represent Wrexham, they'll understand the heritage. James will understand the project that Wrexham are on. We've seen he's followed Wrexham on Instagram and Twitter very, very recently. I don't know. I'm really excited to see what does happen, and I'm really excited at the prospect of seeing Jordan James in a Wrexham shirt in the next couple of days and for the whole of the Championship season, because you're looking at this, we should be going all out for a player of Jordan James's profile. 21 years old, 20 caps for Wales already. He's got over 100 games in the Championship. He's got that international experience abroad for Stade Rennes in Ligue 1, playing against some really high opposition. I think his international experience, again, playing against some really good countries at 21 years old, and for the price tag that Stade Rennes have put on Jordan James, is an absolute steal. And I think Wrexham should be going all out for Jordan James, because you're looking at a midfielder that could be that main midfielder for Wrexham in many, many years to come. And a midfielder of his price tag, and especially his quality, will not come around often. So I think it will be a hectic couple of days for Phil Parkinson trying to get Jordan James across the line. But again, I have no doubt in my mind that we are going to see Jordan James with the Welsh flag over his shirt in the next coming days. And finally, speaking now on some non-transfer news, our Carabao Cup draw has been confirmed. We've been drawn at home to League One side Reading in the third round of the Carabao Cup. A lot of people, when the draw was first out, were probably thinking, what on earth? We were once in a Premier League team. It was a great opportunity to get, a Champions League club, a Europa League club, but do you know what? On reflection, I think it could be a very good draw, and I think it is a very good draw because it's a winnable game. It's at the racecourse. It's on a Tuesday night, most likely. It's going to be a game where there's going to be good atmosphere, and a game that if we win this, there's an even better chance of drawing a Premier League opposition in the fourth round of the Carabao Cup. We get money for getting through, and I think it's, again, a good opportunity for possibly squad rotation players to show to Phil Parkinson why they should be in the matchday squad week in, week out. So I think it's a very good draw in terms of that sense. Yes, we would have wanted that Premier League club. Is this going to be the priority of the Carabao Cup? But again, as time goes on, we've got a good draw in the third round. If we qualify for the fourth round and get another winnable team, we could just go on and on and on, but we're not getting too ahead of ourselves. It's a good draw and one that I'm looking forward to. Jack Marriott as well, recently signed for Reading just yesterday. I think can actually play for Reading in this game. I don't think he's cup tied. I saw something on Twitter. I could be completely wrong, but I always thought it was if you've played for a team already in the Carabao Cup, and especially in any competition, you then couldn't play for another team in the same competition. But I do think he is going to be eligible to play in this game. So yeah, let's hope he doesn't score the winner on his return to the racecourse. So yeah, that is it for today's video. If you did enjoy, make sure to drop a like, make sure to get down there and click the red subscribe button. Like I said, we're on the road to 30,000 subscribers. I cannot thank you enough to everyone that has supported the channel further over the past couple of months. It massively means a lot, and let's see what happens in the final couple of days of the transfer window. Plenty of content coming your way, signings, departures, etc. will be covered on the channel. So like I said, turn the notification bell on so you are notified every time a video comes out, and until then, take care guys, up the town.